rise for the pledge of allegiance. This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. The Verona Board of Education passed a resolution at its meeting held on January 8, 2013. The meeting set forth the schedule of its regular meetings, which resolution was in 7 days of passage. The schedule was sent to the Verona City Times, the Star Ledger, the Herald News, the Township of Verona, and the Verona Education Association. Postings of this meeting setting forth the time, location, agenda were posted in each of Verona's schools, the board office, and the town hall. This posting was also sent to the newspapers, all SEA presidents, and SEA liaisons. The Verona Board of Education operates under a consent agenda format, and the board member has the right to have an item pulled to be voted upon or discussed separately. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions will be made available to the public present. Mr. Watt, Mr. Elliott,
Here.
Mr. Lino, here. Mr. Eunice,
Here.
Mr. Tucker.
Here. All right, welcome to our first board meeting of September. This is our work session for the month. We have a couple of discussion items, committee reports to get through, working session on our district goals based on the strategic plan in the spring and a short resolutions list. First on the agenda, are there any public comment or question on any agenda item? Okay, let's go into our discussion item, which is finalize, hopefully, our district goals for the 13-14 year that are flowing from our strategic plan.
For board members, you should have those in your packet. For the public, I'll pass them out.
There's a draft word markup piece. This is a draft.
As Mr. Quattrochi stated before, these goals are derived directly from our 5-year strategic plan. This plan was adopted by the Board of Education in the summer. And these are the goals that we'll be working on from the plan. These goals are actually worked on by the department heads. So we have our Director of Buildings and Grounds, our Business Administrator, our Director of Curriculum. With the support of their people that work under them, we come up with these goals. Again, these are a draft, and perfect time to bring up anything you want to change, or you'd like to bring up anything you might want, some suggestions. I'm not gonna just read to. I'm just gonna highlight a few things because everybody can read it. I just think it's important to bring up a couple important points. So, strategy 1 has to do with financial resources. A few bullet points would be refining our accounting practices, investigating school choice as an option to bring in new revenue, and partnering with local entities and corporations to bring in new revenue or services. That's our goals under finance.
We look for feedback at this time on the action items or any of the issues.
Sure. No, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. School choice is an issue that we talked about in the past, and something that I don't think we wanted to do as a board. I don't see much in that.
I think it's just something I think we should investigate, not necessarily in the mode to go ahead with it. There are some changes to the law. There are some opportunities out there. One of the things that, again, totally investigative mode. There are ways to do certain academies within the district that we're already doing, but we could possibly open up to outside places to bring in some revenue to fill some seats that might be open.
So I'm not familiar with the changes that took place, so maybe if it has changed.
The financial benefit has changed greatly. Whereas this is all preliminary. Don't hold me to these numbers, but the county superintendent ran the numbers for me and said that if we were able to bring in outside people, the tuition is $15,000 each per kid, per student.
What's the way I answer the past though is that we would have, we could be selected in the process.
You can if you're selected in your process now. Like for example, students who are in the gold band in middle school, they're they have an audition. We could have we could open up 2 seats in the gold band, and we could take 2 outside students. And those students could stay through from 6th grade through 12th, and another set kind of, whereas maybe you're going
One of the points I answered, we can select the students that chose to. If student choice are coming here, we're going to say, as part of the program, we're going to say, maybe there was an issue with the school that we had, maybe it was a violence issue. And we would have an opportunity to say, no, we don't want to send that child to the district.
The thing that we could do is do whatever we do for our own students. So if there's an auditioning process to get into that gold band, the auditioning process would apply to outside people too.
No, but I mean, into the district.
In the district. In other words, we open this up and say we're going to offer 2 seats in 6th grade in this new band academy that we're running. Our own students have to audition, so we can have.
Okay, so you're not saying, okay, you're saying it's part of the academy.
Right. It's like say 10 people apply, they'd like to do it, but we only have 2 seats. It would be an audition of the best, and then people would be put on a waiting list. And they also did change it. You do not have to accept any students that would cost you more money. There's another thing that changed, which is pretty interesting. So not only do you get $15,000 for the first year, you get, what's the type of aid called? Another kind of aid that you see more in urban schools. It's equalization aid, is that what it's called? You get that too, after the first year. So the first year, you get the $15,000 from the state. The second year, if the student gets any equalization aid from the state, you also get that too. So a student could be $22,000, 15
I think
instead
that
of
the goal here is to
just investing.
to go and get all the facts together on what capacity we have to accommodate, what the goals are, and what might change. That's a lot of the same question.
But really, the reason it's on here is that it's something that I'd like to investigate. I don't want to investigate it if it's not on here, because there's a lot of other things on here that we have to do. So I think it's something that's worthwhile. Any other questions about number 1?
I just, on the first point, defining accounting practices to dedicate new funds to the plan. What does that, I'm not sure how we would measure that. What does that mean? Refining accounting?
That's the goal that deals with when we bring in outside revenue, being able to put it into a separate type of account that can be dedicated to what we on the plan.
Right, okay. All right, got it. And then one thing that I would suggest to the board, we talked about other times, is should there be another action item here to get some preliminary schedule of what our long-term spending needs are away from the bond, right? So, for example, we have the worksheets that Mr. McDivitt put together based on the facilities plan, right? So, based on that and our facilities plan and the technology plan, what things are not, as we go through the year, what things are not included in the referendum planning that are going to come up in the next 2 to 5 years? That we need to think about, or at least have on a schedule now, knowing we're going to deal with them 3 to 5 years' time.
Would you like to add something about that?
I think we should, unless anybody disagrees.
So the wording would be, if I'm not mistaken, to
define an initial long-term, we'll call it, I mean, medium-term, 3 to 5 years, spending needs. Yeah, spending needs is based on what we know today is inevitably going to be a cost in the future, but out 3 to 5 years.
Sure.
So it's something that I think you can work on through the year. It's not something you sit down on Saturday afternoon and just crack down.
Sure.
There's a lot of elements to it.
Probably.
Books or cycle.
Yeah, it could be curriculum.
Correct, so all of it, right, exactly.
So essentially, we're just giving our district a financial plan.
But let's start with the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
On the heels of doing all this work on referendum planning, right? So referendum planning is gonna knock out at least line items of things that we are particularly concerned about right now. But there's other stuff that's on, that Joe raises, for example, the maintenance that we do with the summer, right? Some of that is maintenance that we're able to accomplish over the summer. What were the things that must be done that we need to figure out how we're gonna do?
So what we'll do is, I'll write it in, on the agenda to approve these, final copy will be disseminated or posted on the website.
And then just one other question, on the right side where it says department, that's really the committee that's really the committee definition that's going to
Correct.
have it on their agenda.
Number 2 from the strategic plan is to foster a healthy and respectful school culture. The first thing we decided we needed to do in the strategic planning process is find out a comprehensive list of what we actually do currently and the years that we do. The reason why we wanted to find that is we want to see if there's any overlap. In other words, in 4th grade, we spend a great deal of time on X, but also we do it again in 7th grade. So we want to have a curriculum map that shows what types of things we're doing throughout the grades. It's basically an inventory of what we do.
K to 12.
K to 12. Anything that has to do
And like the elementary's left to right.
Correct. Anything that has to do with culture, climate, ed, character education, anything like that. The next part of number 2 is a fairly large piece. That would be to conduct a comprehensive survey of all stakeholders in our operations as a whole, mostly geared towards culture and climate. With that data, we can see that we need to make an adjustment to this, or maybe we need to bring in a program to address that, something specific. That's what we want to do with the survey results. Questions about any of that? Partner locally and globally is strategy number 3. In the strategic plan, part 1, or 1.0, I guess we should say, there was a goal on partnering with the local community. We felt like it was important to add a global piece, considering we're in 2013. We are reaching out to different colleges and universities. We thought that might be a good word. The first part of partnering globally and locally is to research and plan for an alternate senior year experience to start with 14-15. That means to pair some students up that would want to do this, wouldn't be mandatory, but they may elect to do this, to pair up with someone in either the local community or someone beyond the community to learn about a certain trade. This could be one of the options. For example, one of the things we started doing last school year, was using our own people. We said we should look at doing some things differently for seniors. Let's start with our own people. So we started Tomorrow's Teachers Program, which was where students learned about being a teacher, then they went into our own classes and learned a little bit about being a teacher, got a chance to teach, got that opportunity. Now we said, let's try to expand that. Someone's interested in maybe learning how to be an architect, pair them up with an architect, an engineer, police, lawyers, anything like that. And that's the plan, that's the piece that has to do with this alternate senior year experience. We would want the students to be able to get credit. So there's a certification issue that we have to work through. There's a couple issues to work through. It's not as simple as just saying, okay, we'll pair you up. There are some certification issues with the teacher. If you want the students to get it, put it on their transcript and get credit, the teachers have to have the experience and the training. The next thing is to research and plan for a community service requirement to begin with the class of 2018. That would be something like students will be required to perform X number of community service hours. They would have to have some type of a mechanism that tracks the hours, and in order to get your final diploma and all that, you have to satisfy those requirements. This is not something that's just locally for all. This is pretty big movement. As a matter of fact, when I was a principal in the high school before, all our students, several years ago, we moved to this setup, and it was 30, you had to have 30 hours from the time you were a freshman to the time you graduated.
Don't we have community service requirements?
We do. It's not a graduation requirement. This would probably have a little more need to it.
This would be a requirement.
This would be required. And we do have somebody that does track it already. Somebody in the high school tracks it. So it would really be more of a, it's a committee that would be based, out of, in the high school. We discussed this to find out how we would move forward. The The next, are there any questions about global local? Okay, the next thing is the biggest piece, which is curriculum assessment. The first bullet point would be develop student self-assessments that encourage students to be active participants in their learning. These are things that are important, that are new, not new, but things that are being highlighted with the whole new teacher evaluation model with the Common Core.
So the Marzano evaluation process that we're implementing calls for this already.
Yes. A big piece of the Marzano plan is monitoring what the students are doing, making sure the students know what you're trying to teach and why. Correct. I mean, that's a powerful question to go into a classroom and ask two questions: what are you learning and why are you learning?
And have to apply that back to authentic experiences in everyday life.
Sure.
Now and in the future.
I, as a principal, used to do a walkthrough of one of those were two questions we would ask the kids. What are you learning and why? And we wanted to hear, something that made sense to the goal of the learning objective.
Yeah, definitely more than what's written on the board as the objective.
Correct. As a matter of fact, it doesn't have to be written on the board. Someone think out. That's the most important thing. I mean, there's schools have thought through that.
Yeah.
Curriculum Council is a committee made up of, before this year, it was made up of teachers, administrators in the district. Mr. Miller has asked to add a parent onto this committee. And this is not a committee that decides curriculum. This is a vetting process to just discuss issues that are related to curriculum with a committee before it comes to the Board of Education. Implement engineering by design in grades 3 and 4. This is something that we should all be very proud of. We actually have an engineering program in our grades 3 and 4. This is in cooperation with the College of New Jersey. I think this is something to highlight. We just did a press release on it. I think it was sent to Commissioner Cerf, who's including it in his bulletin. I think it's something that we should all be proud of, and it's moving towards this 21st century thing to get students college and career ready in areas of growth. If that makes sense. Integrating literacy. These are important things. I mean, we all at work talk about. I mean, how many times at work you have to read something? Unless you're a teacher, most of the time you're reading some nonfiction, contract, directions, some type of a report. So we need to push some of those nonfiction readings throughout the curriculum.
New Common Core is all good stuff, really nonfiction.
Nonfiction. Not just nonfiction like a book, like Unbroken, like John and I were talking about one, but nonfiction like a contract and direction manual.
ESG, bills, and
Yeah.
mark assessment, some trees and screenshots, of course, but questions are right around how to live everyday life.
Correct.
Right, not just history books.
One of the things I thought was interesting is somebody said to me, well, when was the last time your boss told you to read a novel for work?
Yeah.
Not really happen too much unless you happen to be somebody's teacher or something like that. But as a rule, they might give you, I'm sure, John, you get a 100-page report you have to read. It's pretty much nonfiction. The next piece is to survey the students in the middle school and high school to see whether or not our electives that we're currently offering are relevant, or if there are areas that we should try to have different opportunities, different offerings.
We just did that last year.
We want to do it again. Just keep going and see if it's either relevant or these things that in areas of growth. We still continue to work with the UBD, so there's a UBD question on there about formative and summative assessments, transfer, there's a curriculum council, so some of these actually kind of go together. And then develop common assessments. We figured you have to do SGOs. The SGOs are student growth objectives, the new Teach NJ Act. These are things that we have to do. Let's make them relevant and let's use those in the classroom instead of just doing it because we have to. So we're going to try to tie these SGOs into pre and post tests that we want to do anyway. Instead of doing it twice, let's do it once, but let's do it right. Instead of just saying, oh, we have to do this, let's do it. let's take advantage of it. I don't know if everybody remembers back, there was something called QAAR. It's very similar to this kind of thing. We had a post-test, and a test, pre-test and post-test, compare the data, hopefully you see growth. It's similar to that. Any questions on curriculum instruction?
Yeah, I think that all those points hit curriculum. Unless, we need to do.
Great. Professional learning is basically the new word for professional development. The DAC is a committee that's required by the state to talk about professional development. Professional development should tie into teacher evaluation. I think that's an important piece. If you look at your data from your teacher evaluation, you see, I'm just going to throw something out. This is an example. There's no basis for it. But just say, came back and said, we're weak in cooperative learning. So that piece, the data from the evaluation should tie into what we're doing in professional. Professional development should tie into where we found some weaknesses. Like, for example, was walkthroughs we talked about. If we went in and found that 95% of the time, or 75% of the time, the lessons were teacher-centered. Maybe we would want to do some workshops on how to lessen the teacher-centered activity and make it more student-centered. Those are the kinds of things that you can do with the data. Again, these are things we have to do because there's a new law, but let's embrace it and make it actually work in our favor instead of trying to fight it, because basically it's here, it's not going to go anywhere. So let's use it to our advantage and really make it impact student instruction and student achievement, student success. That's the DAC. This thing, I think this is important. We do the North Essex Professional Development Sorting. It's absolutely amazing. I can't say enough about it. When I saw the way Ms. Jewett put this together, I mean, I really told her this is really a gem. One of the problems we're running into is we won't get a teacher from Verona going to a class at Glen Ridge. We won't get a Glen Ridge person going to a class at West Essex. We just don't get that transfer. One of the things we thought of, and I don't know if this will work, but we're just in the process of investigating if these goals get approved, was how about looking at seeing if Colwell College could come on board with this and have a centrally located area and somehow work out an arrangement with them. So that's why we put that out.
So instead of doing it in Verona or Glen Ridge, we always do it in one place.
I don't know if it would be that rigid that's always there, but how about just like one of them? And maybe you start with one class at Colwell College, and maybe, who knows, we get some people to go from the different classes. I think that we do this cooperative effort, which is, it's absolutely amazing when I saw what we did. I mean, I can't say enough about it, but one of the reasons we did it was to have that crossover. We're not getting the crossover. So maybe enlisting a college into this, maybe they'll help. Don't know, but maybe we try one program, and maybe we're able to do it.
What I did actually add on to that, as a teacher, one of the most enriching experiences I had was when I had the opportunity to work with Montclair State in one of their programs, and with that professor, take time during the school day and visit another school. So I got to see teaching and learning from the best of the best, in terms of what's happening in that classroom, what we're looking at, and also have the support of the professor to make that happen. So I think if we contacted Colwell College today, would they be willing to help support on-site observations at schools where we know best practices can be picked up? And that helps encourage us also to get outside of our school, because in a city, it's easy, right? Another school right down the street, but another schools also right down the street from Verona, Cedar Grove, Glen Ridge, Livingston. We just don't quite think about it as just right down the street, but it really is. When we think of it as one city, we think of it, okay, yeah, I can visit another school pretty easily, but if we can take down those roadblocks and do it through an educational institution, that's a positive thing, I think.
My gut feeling is it's a good thing to explore and try.
Yeah.
And I think if we promote it, it'll work.
I mean, just think like a teacher can spend 35 years teaching in a classroom in Verona and never visit one of their classrooms 2 miles away where great things are happening. It seems kind of funny, right? When you can walk down there in 20 minutes, drive over in 10.
Well, if you look at so many things we talk about, sharing best practices, cataloging, storing, sharing, using different virtual media to actually share these best practices, Dropbox, and all different types of things. But maybe this college didn't work. I don't know.
See, the attraction would be offer something that you're just not going to get.
Right.
I mean, if you could be here 25 years, you never get that. We're sitting in here and come up with something. I mean, you have to.
Like something like that.
Invent the wheel.
Basically, that open room thing is pretty different, and it's very valuable for anybody to teach, to a teacher, to a student, anything. So that could be something that we could try to work with. The owner room is about, basically commanding a room and how you speak public. So it could be an opportunity. And not only that, if you think about it, so our goal is to mingle everybody, but then how about just having some of these people, some of our employees actually go through this training, which is actually going to be a very positive thing, and maybe turnkey to some other things. Mr. Upter spoke to me about how he really wants to try to go after and train students and really grow a whole classroom model.
Or maybe just, if you pick one thing, only offer it in one school.
Right.
And just say, you want to do that? Everybody's got to go over there.
I think we do, with the consortium, we do that already, it's just that because there's optionality, we take people in Verona tend to take the things we have in Verona, like Rich tends to take the things we have in Verona. When we create the programs, we do it together. So both sides contribute, which is how we say money was. And this, but when it comes to actually attending, that's where the issue is.
So basically to try to add a college into that. We will continue to conduct our online PD, develop a teacher evaluation handbook. Mr. Miller already completed that. Develop a comprehensive training schedule for the Marzano model. We're doing that. And this is important. We have a database called Genesis. It's important to have our test scores and data that teachers can use in the classroom in Genesis. It would be an effective tool for a teacher to look up in 5th grade and say, whoa, this is the score, the MJF scored 3rd, 4th, and now what should I expect in 5th? Those are important things, and we have the capability of doing it. We just haven't had the resources and manpower actually to do it. And we also weren't purchasing the CD. It sounds simple, but if you buy the CD with the data on it, you can import it into Genesis. So
With that, I thought,
test report, test data.
we've been reviewing that every year, right?
This
That's
is-
Genesis, I thought.
We do, but well, no, out of those PDFs that come from the state. The state also will provide you with data like this and you import it into Genesis.
So
So
what's
it's
the
easier.
the state score data, we have offline of the student information. So
Right, exactly. And the valuable thing is, the principal, I used to be able to
we have
show
all
that.
our internal test scores.
Right.
But not the state scores.
And the value to it, you can imagine, the principal,
What's it cost to
you
buy
want to
this?
see a kid, probably costs $500. And you could say, obviously, anybody who knows about Excel, you never want to type anything in. You can import it, there's always some mistakes.
That's what I talked about the students.
No, but even if you just did like class, sometimes, what was happening is people were importing in class.
To me, it's a $500 no-brainer.
Just import it, and there you go.
Yeah.
And then it's there forever. So,
Yeah.
the teacher who has the kid in 10th grade looks back and says, oh, this is what we didn't need. So it's really a valuable piece that we need to do.
I mean, you can essentially issue like Verona plans to all the seniors this year for their class, and they can see
So
pretty much achievement.
So one of the things that Ms. Jewett and Mr. Sampson had highlighted, and I think it died, the pilot sort of died, and it's something maybe to talk to Mr. Miller about, is there was a 1 year, probably about 3 years ago, where they identified the students most at risk or most on the cusp of some compensated place, right? And they would create a sort of a profile of just those students, just to start, so that the teachers can review that leading into the new school year for what students they are taking in this September that had challenges in the past, and some of the history that has come out about.
Sure. That's important. Yeah. And then this would solve that problem.
Well,
There would
this
be a
would,
little,
it would solve that problem for the public test data, right? We have our own school record for the part of it. So I'm not sure if we still, it was one year I remember we piloted the concept that was very well received by the staff. I'm not sure if we did.
Everybody putting out a list of the kids on.
On a list, it was like every student that, for example, was in the bottom 10%
Right.
of performance in the third grade. The fourth grade teacher in the tail of the globe, so they came back, they got a folder with a profile sheet of those 10 kids, or so let's say, that there were 10 students in the class, and where those students had challenges or what they struggled with in the third grade. This way they sort of had an awareness of what to expect when school started, and these kids to focus on. The thing that they were trying to solve for was that it typically took 3 months or so, proverbially speaking, for a teacher to say, oh, it seems like these students are the ones that struggle with it and need to spend some more time. This way you know that day one, what to expect. So students change over that when you're showing it.
That's important.
If we do that for every student, that'd be ideal, right? We can start with the class, but, I mean, I work at a school, that every single student has that down. There's no reason why we can't do that. I mean, I think that every year students are new to our teachers in the district, in our own house. It's interesting.
You can do that too. I think the model was to start with a number of students so that they have 200 teachers. So that all the teachers are using information from the instructor.
Yeah.
As opposed to just giving everybody a folder with 60 kids in it and saying, what is it? So I just read it and figure it out. You have to have sure.
Exactly. And in the beginning of the year, we can maybe work that into that key at the beginning to give time to get construction to use it.
Any questions about professional development? And then the last piece is to provide upgraded facilities for technology and our buildings and grounds. To upgrade our district backbone, I'll just talk about that quickly. We had comprehensive, this big of a book, evaluation done by ProMedia, the engineers that we hired, tell us the things that we need to do. That has been given to our other engineer and submitted to the state. Continue with ESIP. We just got back today that ESIP through TRC, which is a company that handles ESIP. ESIP is the program that allows you to do some repairs based on the savings you would get in energy. So the ESIP, that one came back at about $1.2 million of repairs you can do to save energy. Just going to throw out an example. The lights in the high school gym. If you replace them with higher efficiency, if you replace them with higher efficiency lighting, we would save X dollars. And that would help pay for the lighting repairs itself. And the fact that those lights, even though they use more energy, are not very bright either. So they'll be brighter and more efficient. That's just one example of what we do. And then work with the local stakeholders to improve security, infrastructure, policy, training, and procedure. One of the things we are doing with security in mind is we do have an offline ad hoc committee based on some people in town that are interested. One of the things we talked about is why don't we rotate a board member through that meeting. We meet monthly. Would you think that sounds like a decent idea that we might rotate a board member through that? We try to do it on a day that we have something else, so it's not another night out, maybe a half-hour meeting prior to something else. So I thought about that. That was actually Chief Huber said, Steve, these meetings are going well, but how about we rotate a board member through? I thought that might be a decent idea. So I will, what I'll do is, when we set the next date, I'll shoot out an email to you, and you let me know who's available. Okay?
I just have a question. So this upgraded district technology backbone, is that in the referendum?
Yes.
It is, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Not only is it in the referendum, but it's in the project. So we will get some of the money if this bond is passed, actually when it's passed. We will get a certain percentage, a decent percentage of the total package of the upgrades technology will be paid for at the same. The next piece is to try to build our district operations and maintenance budget to bring it in line with the past budgets. Now, that's hard to do, obviously, it's easy to write, hard to do. But we are doing it slowly, that makes sense. I know we spoke about how back 10 years ago, our discretionary funds were double what we have now. But by adding a few tens of thousands of dollars into the budget at a time, I know it won't happen overnight, but by trying to do that, and by using some of these reserves that we have, maybe we can start addressing some of these needs that are not bond referendum type things, but recurring maintenance issues.
The only thing I would say about that one is I would change that second part of that sentence to continue to build the district operations and maintenance budget to support our anticipated spending. Not, what we had in the past is certainly more than we have today, but I'm not so sure that was ever our right number to begin with.
You're right, so it's more about the
What
needs
do
rather than
we
the
think we need, like I said before, in 3 to 5 years, what is it that we expect that we have to do? That's what
I mean, really, the number's not important, it's the need.
right.
Or the budget to the need, not the number.
Right.
And to John's point before, any number that's going into, correct me if I'm wrong, any number of that operating budget that's going into current, what should be bonded for, would essentially hopefully roll back to, or pull back to an operating budget, right? So if we're using an operating budget to pay for fixes that should be 30 years, that when we bond for that unanticipated spend, when we happen, should be able to fall back to increase our operations and management, essentially.
Right, so, right, because yes.
And the last piece is to plan and execute this referendum for early 2014. Other than the couple minor changes that were brought up, are you all comfortable with these goals? They're on for a resolution.
Good.
I'll make the
Actually, can we,
changes.
no, we should make the changes and let's vote on the next meeting. Yeah, this way we'll vote on the final copy.
So the changes will be brought up to you.
Yeah, just send it to
They'll
the
be
next
approved
time.
next week, and then the next time they'll be posted online once they're approved.
Great.
And I'll submit them to the meeting. Okay? So remember, these are draft public, just gave it to you so you have a reference.
Okay, let's do our committee reports. First committee was Education Committee met today, talked about our education curriculum agenda and our special services. Again, so you have copies of the committee reports in your packet. Let's go to the last page here. The first couple of pages is the agenda for the year. The topics that we covered today, resolution to approve, there's a resolution tonight to approve having Fairleigh Dickinson University award or support college credit for our calculus, AP calculus A&D course. This was done after school started, and we had to go through a process to a couple of different universities to get the right credentials for the teacher and the course and the content of the teaching. But now this will be the 5th high school course that is offered in Verona for the enrollment. It's important to remember. This all started last year. 2 years ago, we had a history of no new enrollment courses at the high school. So to have 5 now after just 2 years of focus on it is a noteworthy accomplishment. Education policies, we have 29 policies that Mr. Eunice and I reviewed in late August. We have to schedule a committee meeting dedicated to that. So before we go tonight, we can just get a oversight meeting in the day. We may have to do more than one to get to 29 is hefty in the policies. Right? Presentations, we just reviewed some of the press releases around AP and HESCO results that Mr. Miller put out, but also we'll have some AP scholar from high school here at the next board meeting to receive accommodations from the board. Professional learning, there was just reviewed the schedule on Steve Marzano teaching model that happened in early September. Training for principals is scheduled for September 20th, 27th, and then late in October. And we're doing that in conjunction with the Glen Ridge District as part of the professional effort overall. There's some efficiencies gained. We saved about $10,000 in Verona's budget to what it would otherwise have cost us had we not been able to partner with Glen Ridge to do this. And then there's a resolution in there for Dr. Banerjee, our additional half-day pay in the summer to meet with the new social studies teacher that we have hired. In terms of special education, we reviewed the preschool enrollment, changes in population. We talked about the resolution tonight. We have a new school psychologist who's set to start November 1st. Status of the IEP records that have to be updated given the technology outage that we had and catching up and getting that restored so that it's effective. And then for the start of the school year, and then potential parental student disputes around special education. Those two specifically that we talked about. One is going to a resolution meeting in October, and the other one we resolve with the student and family and the request for mediation. Any questions? All right, let's do athletics committee.
Freshman boys and girls basketball starting up, so that's exciting to think about that. So we're currently securing a coach and we'll be kicking off for the that was the money that was raised through this additional advertising.
It's not on your agenda for approving personnel, are you asking?
Yeah,
We talked about, I thought we talked about also. Freshman song.
Well, we talked about two different sports, boys and girls. That's to start. I mean, I would love to add softball, but that's not what we're at the point.
And it's being funded by
Actually, not donations, it's by corporate sponsorships.
most of the.
Okay. The track HPW update, I will not steal from thunder on that. So, exactly. Yeah. But it is difficult. Just to remind you about the captain's trip to Yoga Bear Museum and motivational speaker. It was a great event, and that's where the captains of our teams took a trip over the summer to Yoga Bear Stadium. Had a chance to listen to some motivational speakers, and we're looking to do this again in the future. At the upcoming AD convention in New Jersey, our athletic director, Mr. Fresian, will be presenting. This will be in March, which is definitely an honor. We are still waiting on our cardiac screening for student athletes because we're still waiting on state requirements. So we just want to make sure that we're in compliance before we go ahead and move forward with any type of cardiac screening that needs to be done. The lower field had the bleachers delivered, so we are currently still using that for all sports moving forward since the upper field is still off limits. And it looks great, and we'll continue to keep them up to date on any status checks as we prepare the field moving forward. And there was a press release recently that I'm just going to highlight in person for anyone who might have missed it. So there was an article in Sunday's September 8th Star Ledger in which it highlighted the current NFL players from New Jersey. There are 81 players from 73 schools. And there are 6 schools with 2 or more players. And for Verona, we are one of those 6 schools with 2 players. So just to kind of give you a gauge of the league of which we're in, that's Verona, Hillsborough, Piscataway, Don Bosco, St. Joe's, Montvale, and Berkeley Catholic, with Don Bosco and St. Joe's with 3 athletes in those schools. So it just speaks to the caliber of program that we have here for athletics as well. And of course, that would be Dan DePalma and Anthony Pisano. And that's it for our update. Any questions?
Yeah, again, we go back to freshman sports,
Yep.
and I'd like to see a pro forma on that. I'd like to see how much they committed to and how much the program.
So we'll turn it over to Mr. Forte. So we get back to our committee. Good.
To finance group?
Finance committee did we had brief meeting. First thing we covered was some procedures, internal procedures on purchase orders going forward. The main thing that we did talk about is the bonding procedures and the estimates. We're at a point where, while we don't have a date yet on when we'll have a referendum vote, we need to start thinking about what we need to have in place. We've got a proposal from at least one professional financial advisor who I've worked with personally and with his name. And we've got to have certain things in place. We have to have bond accounts in place, we have to have financial advisor in place, and we have to have somebody who can handle transactions. And we also have to determine what length of term the referendum will be for. That's strictly open for discussion, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 150 years, whatever suits our fancy in that regard. But we've got to start thinking about that. And one of the things that a financial advisor will help us with is to be able to project what the impact will be in terms of the cost of the taxpayer. So we need to jump on that fairly soon.
Yeah, Ms. O'Neill spoke to the engineer firm earlier today, and intended to get a schedule for when they can come in and do a public presentation for what the recommendations are for the work in the various projects. So this way, educate the board, and that will open up the dialogue and discussion of what's in there, what options may exist that we have to decide, etc. And from there, I think we can zero in on other elements of it, and the finance in different terms for different reasons, etc. To your point, we are going to schedule for the first meeting in October. So we'll really have it too.
Oh, yeah, is that what the resolution?
Yeah. So this means the first meeting of October. That will have CI come in. They'll bring in presentation material. We televise the public meeting. We'll go through each of the buildings, each of the elements of the engineering work that they did in building by building perspective. So we'll get the whole sort of document at once. We'll go explanation, chance to test some questions. And then from there, we'll have to break up into action items to take forward. Public input sessions, maybe other sessions where the public can participate, working groups to evaluate if there are any outlier options that we have to resolve, etc. And then I would recommend that the finance committee will be based on that. Because Dino, before they look out, what recommendation would be for the advice? We have to appoint, right? The advisor has to be appointed.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And that's my report.
No, they covered it with short. Bill is around to meet this evening. Mr. McDevitt presented a PowerPoint on summer projects, and we're going to schedule him to come into a meeting either later in this month or early next month, depending on the calendar allows, to have him walk through a lot of what took place and present it not only to the board but the public as well. I think I touched on it last time, but I'll mention it again, that we did file the garage grant paperwork with the state. I've been talking a lot about the LGEA, the Local Governance Energy Audit. We completed the next step in that process, so we had to have our approval of the report, and it was approved, and now we go out to RFP and look at some proposals. To remind everyone, the report identified $1.3 million in energy improvements, and the way it works is that we'll receive proposals, and also the program is that the company will pay for the renovations or the improvements to primarily lighting, is what we're looking at. They will guarantee us an 8% improvement on our energy bill for the buildings that the renovations are taking place, and then they will recoup the cost of their investment through over the life of the project through the energy savings that take place. So we'll get 8% and they'll get the balance of that, and that's how they'll recoup their money.
And how long is that?
Well, that'll be part of the typically it's like 15 to 20 years. It's long.
So these improvements are outside of the bond?
So they will take place outside the bond, but what we need to do is coordinate these improvements with potential referendum items. For example, we've identified some drop ceiling needs. You don't want to necessarily do this lighting, improve lighting until you do drop ceiling. So that coordination has to take place.
Is there an expiry on this audit report with these numbers in it? Which was in other words, is there a quote around what they would,
Yes, yeah, there's a report.
if it expires at a certain amount of time? You know,
I don't have an answer.
might be worthwhile checking to give the timing of some of the.
Yeah, the moving along the process, although it's taking a long time, someone mentioned to me, why doesn't anybody do this? Well, it's a long process. So we've been we moved through the process as quickly as possible, so then this is just the next step. Mr. Hughes mentioned the fact that the work was prepared, the issues are possibly installed. Were they installed or installed? They're installed, okay. I didn't know that was fine. We've had an issue with the HPW gym bleachers, and we've issued a purchase order for their repair. We're going to improve with motorized bleachers, make them motorized, because that's one of the issues that caused them to fail, being just dragging them in and out. They're pretty heavy, just damaging the last several years. They haven't been used since last spring when they determined they weren't safe, so we're hoping to get that done shortly. Any questions?
Superintendent's report?
Only a couple of things today. One is the technology update. We are back up and running. A couple of minor problems with printing that are going to be ironed out this week. The Marzano training, like Mr. Quattrochi stated, is in cooperation with Glen Ridge. The dual enrollment, just to highlight, we have 16 credits available for this school year, 13-14. But also we had 3 from the summers for a total of 19 possible credits the student could take from July 1 to June 30th. And I think that Star Ledger article was interesting. I read it myself, but it was pretty interesting. You know, 2 kids in the NFL, out of all these places you could possibly come from, 2 from Verona. Nice accomplishment.
Okay, let's do our resolutions.
Can I have a comment on the supervision report for a moment? Yeah. So just on the first one there, I remember being freshman, here, and going to sophomore year, really pushing to get into honors courses, and then really pushing to get into AP courses as I moved on. And to think, just reflecting on it, I can't believe it's been 5 years now, having been serving on the board. To think during that time, and then back to my time in Verona, and think, wow, our students now have the opportunity to not just push for honors, not just push for AP, but push for an opportunity to be in a college level seat, right, and receive college level credit. It kind of hit me the other day that really, as I was reflecting, to realize how far we've come, and that's a great accomplishment to have achieved in just such a short amount of time. And I want to do things forward because he has really, a lot of that advancement has happened during this time here. So thank you for that level of high expectation and rigor for our students.
Yeah, there's just a couple of notes of that I want to make. Resolution number 3, the event, the acronym should be NCTM, and that's the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. Resolution 4, it should read that resolve the board approve a medical leave of absence for child study team employee 2942 from September 1st, 2013 to November 1st, 2013. And then we're going to table resolution number 5. So resolve that the board approve resolutions number 1 through 11, tabling number 5, and approving addendum resolution number 1.
Moved by Mr. Bueno, seconded by Mr. Nunes. Any questions? Just have a question on this, on the buildings and grounds addendum. I think is there a reason why we need to approve this tonight?
We want to start, we have to start the process on repairing the bleachers at the middle school. We can keep them closed longer, but we won't be able to do that without them approved due to the fact that the building's going to be coming out of our maintenance
can we, so I haven't read this, I just got this tonight. So, can we, I guess we can vote on it for the purpose of this meeting.
It was discussed.
What we discussed, we did have some reservations about, we even had some reservations about the format, but we thought that under circumstances, because of the urgency of needing to do something, they would approve it. If it's in the wrong format, or if there's something that we would provide, we can back and forth with time.
Well, we said it was discussed in committee.
It's discussed by him.
Right, now, finance committee went through, okay, well, it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
Mr. Forte, did you see your email?
It was in your email packet, Frank.
Yeah. Okay, so is this, so how is this different than this is not our,
This is long range facility.
right, this is not the long range facility. Is this,
the main?
right, so this is not, the things that are listed in here are not the things that I find in the long range plan.
No.
Right?
And sir, we need this in order to use the funds as a reserve. To only spend on things around this.
That are-
That's what we talked last time. Okay. Yeah. So,
We need something out of that fund, we have to approve the plan in place. There are some questions about it, like that it's in the wrong format, if we change the format, we can always revise it. But as long as we have an existing approved maintenance plan, we can take money out there. But that has to make money.
And then we can go through some processes if we have to revise it.
We can provide it every week.
Let's go vote. Hey, I'm sorry, any questions? Let's go vote.
Mr. Elliott? Mr. Galino?
Yeah.
Mr. Venus?
Aye.
Mr. Quattrucci?
Aye. Okay, that's the extent of our meeting tonight. From the board side, we'll open up to any public comments or questions.
My name is Doreen Summers.
Just not maybe, please.
My address is 68 Christianette Avenue. My kids are in second grade at FM Brown, and the classes are at capacity. They're both 25. And last year when we came into the district, we spoke with Dr. Lanzo and Mr. Forte, and we were told at that time that 25 was the max of the split to 3, and actually when we were coming into first grade last year, we were told that there were going to be 3 first grades, and then when we started the year, it wasn't, it was, I believe, 23, I think, in both classes. So now we've come this year, it's 2 classes of 25, and it's too much. We got a note sent home saying that there was approved aides, but I don't see them on this approved list, and I don't understand why we have aides being proposed as opposed to a third. And I don't know what the procedure is to, get a third teacher in our school, but I'd like to kind of come. I realized at the last minute, I'm sorry that has been my trip, but that there was a meeting tonight, and I really wanted to get it on the record that there are a lot of concerned parents in our class, and FM Brown. My husband spoke with Dr. Lanzo yesterday, and so we talked to Mr. Forte, and this is how I figured he was the best way to talk to.
So, one thing is, the discussion about hiring an aide was recent, though, so not enough time to interview and have somebody on the agenda. So it is still the plan to hire aides. That's one thing. Second thing is, Dr. Lanzo and I spoke, and he informed me that there was a decent amount of students in those classes, close to capacity. The parents were concerned. The solution that we came up with together, included, in discussions, was to come up with an instructional aide to add to the class to help with the management of the 20, I think it's 24 and 25. I don't believe it's 25 each, unless that's changed since the last time we
Another
spoke to you.
student started
Good,
today.
yeah, sure. I know there were a few kids coming in, a couple of kids going out, but in the end, it could be 25. The solution to solve that issue for right now was to hire an aide. That's where we're at. And Dr. Lanzo and I did speak, I will speak to him again tomorrow.
I feel like in general, Verona is obviously growing, and FM Brown is growing, and this was kind of already on the discussion last year, like when we first came into the district, and we had been, you know, in a Catholic school before, and we came because we heard Verona schools were so, you know, great, and we thought, why should we be paying money when there's a great public school system right here? And we're really, you know, questioning, like, whether, you know, our kids are getting the best when, I mean, it's just everywhere you read, smaller class sizes are better for children. And so I feel like, yeah, maybe we hit that number, like, right before school started, but this has been something that it seems like it's been kind of, you know, people are foreseeing, and it just seems like our district, all the schools are growing. It sounds like, you know, most of the schools are growing.
10%.
So, I mean, which is, you know, great for Verona, but it's not great if the students are and for the teachers. I mean, any teacher I talk to, I just think we all understand that. And so I really feel like we need to figure out how to.
So
We did add 2 sections of K4 this year. K through 4. We added a K, kindergarten class in Verona, and we added another 2nd grade class in Forest due to numbers. So we have addressed some of these issues. Except the Forest, the FM Brown numbers were still within the range of what we were looking at. That's why we addressed it. Correct.
So, for example, the student, we just went through some numbers today. We had rating something like 10 special ed students moving to the district, so after the process and teachers so we do student classes. We've done 2 this year alone. Sometimes in this particular case, it gets into September, we still see student numbers change. As I said, we might be able to students that started today, we come with getting an aid in is sort of an immediate action we can take. It's very, very easy to get that into the person and help the teacher. And that is not a consultation, not only with Mr. Forte and Dr. Lanza, but also the teacher who has the teachers and the students. So why don't we take it as something that we're going to keep monitor on, and if there's a need to split it, any dynamic that's going on. Our board history has always been to err on the side of school, not to try to force a bad situation. Whenever there's a situation that calls for splitting, we always split. We've never been nice split. It does have to come up with the proper education channel to recognize that we couldn't have people.
There are other factors involved. The students, whether or not they're special needs students in the classroom, basic skills students, ESL students, anything like that that would add to the decision-making process or discuss.
Well, FM Brown is the designated ESL school for the district, right? I mean, I know that, you know, we have some kids that have come in and, you know, that it does sound like there's more need.
That's what he said.
Right.
That's what he said.
So
You
does
take all those
that,
factors
does
in.
that make it more possible that we'll be able to split to a third? Or,
It makes it
I mean,
more,
what,
if those sorts of characteristics happen in the class, it makes it more likely that we take action to split it. But it's got to come up through some evaluative process to say, here's what's going on in the classes, the dynamic of the students that are in there, here are the struggles that the teacher has, et cetera. So it's got to come up through, but the board will be out of bounds and say, oh, no, that's right, we'll try to split it without the teachers and principals or superintendent's recommendation, that's what we do.
okay.
But whenever we get that recommendation, we're at 100% of these schools, we never deny it. So I think we're on the same side of the argument. If you're looking at, but it is very early. We strike our final numbers for student population around the middle of October because we do get a lot of changes. So, we're not too away from policy changes and must. So getting an aid in there, so the immediate thing that we can do.
So that's going to happen
That's what
here
happens.
soon.
Once they hire, the person has to be hired, fingerprinted, background checked, all that.
Before
It's done.
the person has to be identified and ready to go before the period. We can't do a resolution without the person. That's what it is. Well, why don't we keep this as at least as an education committee agenda item that we're tracking, how the class is doing. If there's a need to split, we want to take action early enough in the year.
There was a time when, after the start of the school year, the board got full report.
That's the October 15th date. That's when we strike. We went through that. So it took my time to read, just went through that today. middle of October, that we strike our final numbers that we report to the state.
But I mean, even before that, we just got a head count map of class by class, school by school, and I'd like to see that. I mean, I haven't seen it.
That's what I
There was a time when the voices were louder and more frequent, like now, I'm just taking.
But we went through it in preparation for September, so it didn't guard it.
By the next meeting, can we have them?
Sure.
And break up the number, if there are especially statements, but break the number out.
That's the next time the board will meet, is in 2 weeks' time, in the meantime. Take care of monitoring right now, so what we have to do.
I wanted to, I feel like there's intention around that number of 25 as well, and, I would, this would be easy, they're still receiving a high quality education. Hopefully that, like John had said, as we're able to ease into that process of, further meeting the needs, which you're right, like, we have more, access to groups, smaller groups, like, that provide some more opportunity for differentiation, just like as an educator, administrator, but, yeah, but definitely for us easy, because they're still receiving high quality as well.
Anybody else? Okay. That ends our meeting tonight. Our next meeting is Tuesday, 24th of September. We have a confidential session for the board at 7 o'clock and a public meeting following, beginning at 8.
Good night.